What's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good?
Quick question for you. What's the biggest amount of money you made on the trade? What was the risk to reward ratio that you used? And what was the catalyst for that trade to go in your favor?
You know what? I can't really answer that. So I don't invest in the market myself. I don't track what the customer makes on a trade because I don't participate in the P&L. As a broker, I am a commission broker. I trade stock and I'm paid a mill rate per share of what I trade. So I could get a sense on our successful days, right? Like Tuesday was a very successful day, right? So I would imagine they invested many tens of millions of dollars on the trade. We were making a prediction that the market was going to go short, not on opinion, because the numbers in my model told us that the market should be going down, and we shorted the market. And as the dollar value of the amount of coming into the market was bigger, we got shorter, and the market happened to implode. Yeah. We were on the right side of that implosion, and we made a lot of money. That's the best I can do. It's a hard question. We don't really base our trading is based on these target numbers that on the alerts. Right? If there's $1 billion to sell, we are short. If there's $2 billion to sell, we are shorter. If the number goes down to 500 million, you have to realize that if there's $1 billion to sell, that means that there are buyers around, but they haven't come in yet, or maybe there are no buyers right now. Right? So that number can change. The number of the imbalanced dollar value of coming into the market changes every 5 seconds. So I am always at the risk of the market. So that $2 billion never got smaller on Tuesday, okay. So I stayed short from 2 and covered at 4, and it was a very successful trade. Yesterday, we were short into the market. There was probably $1 billion for sale, and then the market went our way. Yeah. But then, if you'll notice, anyone watching the S&P yesterday, you'll notice the market hit a technical level on top of it. The dollar value of the sell side pared down to actually 200 million from $1 billion. That means things are flipping. We covered our position and flipped it long and went long, and we're able to participate on the way up. It doesn't always happen. We don't make money every day by any means. We are at the risk of the market. We've had probably just a few more winning days than losing days, right? That's day trading. We don't win every time. But what you look, probability, it's a probability game. Absolutely. If you win 51% of the time, and you do it enough and you're involved in every trade, you'll be successful.
So I heard you talk about order flow. Right. I know a lot of people don't know about what that is. Could you explain that? But also talk about Alibaba was one of the most successful IPOs of all time. What made that so special?
Okay, so we put on a wonderful show here, right? When a company goes public, that's something they've lived their whole life to do. That's going on stage. Right, you guys have done right. Think about all the work you guys did. You didn't just suddenly become successful, right? You paid your dues all the way up, right? But when you finally get up and you go on stage, right? I remember when I saw you in Brooklyn, right? Those are our milestones. Those are pivotal moments. You've had them, right? InvestFest. Forget about it, right? Can you imagine? I mean, we watched that. The list. I couldn't even get in the middle of that list. I thought maybe I'll be the next Josh Brown on that one. Right?
Use my travel card. I want to use it here.
I'm asking for the next invite. But so that didn't happen by accident. You paid your dues along the way. These guys have too. I'm sure they've had bumps in the road on their way to this, right? What was your question?
About order flow and what made Alibaba
great.
So successful. All right, so
a company has a story, and a company has a CEO, and it has its team.
Shout out to Jack Ma.
Shout out to Jack Ma. Now, does everyone know Jack Ma's story?
Talk about it.
Jack Ma's story is a man who had 10 ideas, right? And he couldn't even get $5,000 to people to lend him $5,000 to tell his story. And he got knocked down 10 times. He went to the well. I got an idea. You're nobody. His parents said, you're going to be a nobody, right? He tried and never. It's not a matter of how many times you get knocked down. It's that time you get back up and it works, right? Right? You can walk in any door, right? Don't tell anybody. You walk in any CEO's door, knock on it. Worst thing they're going to do is say, see you later, right? Chances are they may not do that. So Jack Ma, his story is amazing. To think about a young man from China, right, who tried and tried and tried, got knocked. If he had given up any of those 10 times, you wouldn't have Alibaba right now. It's a little bit struggling. Turned out to be the greatest e-commerce company in the world. Absolutely. It was the largest IPO in history. Not 298 million shares. I stood next to him. He's just like me, 3'5".
Same height, man.
Short and sexy, right? Not tall, dark, and handsome.
Come on, man.
Forget about it. Giddy up. So he was an amazing man. He had a story, right? He had a journey. He got there, right? He got to the finish line, right? It wasn't the end, but it was the finish line for him. So it took all of those things. The journey, right? This is not it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. Right? It's a marathon to create China's largest e-commerce company. We don't, whether the politics, whatever you want to care about, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people. We're talking about a story. We're talking about a journey in a company, right? And that was one of the greatest things. I mean, you can't, look, to be in the room where that happened, there were thousands of people there. The IPO was unbelievable. I don't remember where we opened at 67, went to 167, or I don't even remember. The enthusiasm, I mean, that was way before COVID. That was way before Amazon really was what it was. I mean, it was e-commerce at its best. I mean, it's one of the largest global companies in the world. Not now. It's at $90. Chinese stocks have taken a hit. But however, so it's a people game, a human thing, and a story.
Good. And you talk about order flow. Come on.
Okay, order flow. So order flow, right? So the New York Stock Exchange, in the old days, we did 80% of the volume of the world. There were only a few places you could go to trade stock, right? There was the Pacific Exchange, the Midwest Exchange, used to be owned by Bernie Madoff. We're not going to talk about that now. That was before he was a bad guy. And then there was, the London Exchange, Amsterdam. Shout out to the Amsterdam Stock Exchange, 1678, the oldest exchange in the world. That's where it all started, before the tulip craze. Anyway, everyone should learn that story too, about bubbles. Right? So the public, institutions, high wealth people put in order flow to buy and sell stocks every day. Those order flows, whether they end up somewhere at the point of execution where stocks are bought and sold. We used to do 80% of it. The orders would come down from above. They would be called in. A broker would take it to the post. You guys met Glenn at GTS. He was a market maker. He'd put the orders and the buyers and sellers together. He'd put the order flow together and consummate a trade, right? The point of execution. Yeah. That was orders coming from all over the world. Goldman Sachs down the street, Goldman Sachs in Singapore, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Warren Buffett, Bill Ackman, it doesn't matter. They create order flow determined on fundamentals and technicals. They send an order into the system. The system finds its way to the New York Stock Exchange. That's order flow. Now, there are people who trade on fundamentals, trade on technicals. People like to see what the whales are doing. What are the smart money doing? Some people trade off of that. I'm not a big fan of it, because by the time you hear about the fact that Warren Buffett just took a 9% stake in Oxy, people who don't have experience think, oh, he's about to go buy 9% Oxy, I better go buy it. Well, by the time you hear about it, he bought it 3 months ago. So don't go run into a stock, because net overall, Warren is a great trader, and probably down the line, it'll probably be a great investment, but that's not a reason to buy a stock. That's order flow. Order flow is order flow from everywhere else. It trickles down to the point of execution, whether it's at the farmer's market on 14th, whether it's here on the New York Stock Exchange.
This that Red Panda Anthem. Ian, what's up? This that Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem. Whole foot going up. I know they can't stand it.